Welcome. It is Verdict with Senator Ted Cruz. Ben Ferguson with you as well. And Senator, we have got a lot of action happening right now in the Middle East. We're going to cover it the best we can because it's changing so quickly.
Well, we are, but we're going to start with a very simple question. What in the hell is wrong with California? Look, I got to say the Los Angeles mayor race is as bizarre a race as I've ever seen. We're going to break down the results there. They're going to shock you. They're going to piss you off. We're going to talk about exactly what's going on. We're also going to talk about, as you noted, the Middle East. And in particular, Iran is firing missiles at Israel. Israel is firing missiles at Iran. Things are escalating right now. Things are fast moving. We're going to give you the latest.
Yeah, welcome to the Democratic Party in 2026. All right, if you have a puppy or a dog that you love, then you need to know about Rough Greens, and I want you to try it just like I did for our new puppy, Birdie, for free. Yeah, all you're going to have to do is pay for shipping. Now, if you don't know about Rough Greens, let me tell you about them.
I tell you, moving from the puppy years to old age brings in nostalgia. Remember the day you brought your puppy home? The tiny paws, the wagging tail, the spark in their eyes, and man, that energy that just wouldn't quit? Well, they've gotten older. You wonder where that spark went. They're slower, pickier at mealtime. Their stomach often seems off, and you find yourself cleaning up those messes, worrying and quietly thinking, is this just what aging looks like? That's not old age, by the way. That's actually malnutrition. They're missing their probiotics, the enzymes, the omega oils, and the live vitamins and minerals that your dog needs to digest and absorb food. When the gut is out of balance, everything's harder for your dog that you love. And that's where Rough Greens really come in. I've seen it firsthand as our dog got older, and we got our dog back that happiness in life. And in fact, Rough Greens is America's #1 dog supplement. You just sprinkle it right over their current food, and it's packed with all the live nutrients that they need. It's all natural, made in the US of A, and thousands of dogs are feeling younger, more energetic, and healthier than they have in years. Your dog could be one of them, and I want you to get a free Jumpstart trial bag for your dog today, and you'll understand exactly why it's amazing. You just cover the shipping costs. Go to roughgreens.com, and all you have to do is use the discount code VERDICT. That's RUFF greens.com, discount code VERDICT. Rough Greens, they make any dog better.
All right, so I have a theory, Senator. Let's go back to California and start there. I have a theory that when you make so many people miserable, as soon as the sane can get out, they get out as fast as they can. If you are a normal person and you're living in a place like LA and you watch part of the city burn down and you see that the fire hydrants aren't working well and the reservoirs don't have the water they need, and then you're dealing with all the crazies there in government, you just leave. So my question is this: did all the sane people basically leave LA? Therefore, the only thing you have left is Karen Bass or a communist or a socialist, and that's it because they've destroyed the entire city?
Look, there's still a whole lot of people there. A lot of people have left. They are fleeing like crazy, but there are a lot of people still there. Let's do the latest news. It's 11:17 p.m. Sunday night. So as of right now, Karen Bass, the incumbent, is going to the runoff. She has been called. She has received so far 250,871 votes, which comes up to 34.7%. Now, the election happened a week ago. Let's start with the fact that these imbeciles can't actually count the votes in an election. We're a week into it, and we only have 83% of the votes in. They have another 17% that they haven't counted yet. That is true statewide. We're going to break that down in a minute. But by the way, Texas, somehow we managed to have elections and no election night or late in the morning the next day. The results, because we actually count our damn votes. Apparently in California, vote counting keeps going until I guess they get the result they want. I mean, it is messed up. For much of the past week, Karen Bass was in first, and then Spencer Pratt was in second, but in a sizable second. He had a sizable lead. Then suddenly, today's vote count dropped. And Nithya Raman, who is the left-wing Marxist, who, by the way, thinks Karen Bass, the communist who palled around with Fidel Castro, is not left-wing enough. She has now surged into second place. So as of right now, Nithya Raman has 196,198 votes, which is 27.1%, and Spencer Pratt has 193,085 votes, which is 26.7%. Now, what does that mean? Well, I'm going to tell you, I looked on Kalshi right now, just to see what the betting odds were.
Yeah.
On who will be in second place. What do you think the odds are, according to Kalshi, that Nithya Raman is in second place?
I'm going to go like super high.
Throw out a number.
89%.
Higher.
Higher. So basically they're saying it's rigged and there's no way a Republican's going to come in second. That's what you're telling me.
Okay, keep going.
99%.
Down one.
98%. Okay, so
Bingo.
there we go. Yeah.
Bingo. It was 99 earlier today. It dropped to 98. Let me ask you, all right, before we get into the process questions. All right, so Karen Bass, I think, has demonstrated she is the most incompetent mayor you could possibly imagine, being in charge of a podunk city, much less the second largest city in America. Much of her city burned down. She saw the most costly natural disaster in American history as the Pacific Palisades rage. Mind you, this was after both LA and California had little to no fire mitigation. They allowed the overgrowth of brush. They didn't do anything to clear it out because apparently no one's figured out that there are fires in California. This is a really complicated thing for Democrats to figure out. Yeah. On top of that, they didn't have water. Yeah. They let the reservoir be empty. The fire hydrants had no water. And you remember we played this on the podcast at the time. We did an entire pod on the preventable train wreck that was the LA wildfires. The public policy decisions that made the risks much greater and then made the ability to mitigate it, to stop it, to put it out much, much weaker. LA at the time, their fire chief and the top two deputies. Okay, this is almost something out of Saturday Night Live, if Saturday Night Live was allowed to be funny anymore.
Yeah.
The top three officials in the LA Fire Department were all lesbians named Kristen.
Yeah. Yeah. It was DEI at its best. Like, if you just want to be really honest.
Doesn't that sound like almost a rejected script for an SNL? Yes. Let's have Kristen 1, Kristen 2, and Kristen 3. They're all lesbians. And we played an interview, I think it was Kristen 2, although to be honest, I can't keep track, who was an African-American woman who was explaining that you know, they had as a high priority hiring lots of women, and look, women are great, but she said, you know, some of you might be saying, well, what if that little woman can't carry my husband out of a fire?
Yeah.
And she says, you know what? When you see a firefighter, you want someone who looks like you. That's what you care most about. And if your husband's in a fire, that's his fault. He shouldn't have gotten himself in that position in the first place.
Yep.
Like, it truly was unbelievable. And let me be very clear for the record. If I'm in a fire, I don't care what the firefighter who shows up looks like. Doesn't matter to me at all. I just want
to carry me out.
Someone big as hell who can throw my ass over his shoulder and get me out of there. That is, and by the way, you know my mom. My mom is 91 years old.
Yep.
My mother lives in a high rise in Houston, and she lives up in the 26th floor. And a couple of years ago,
I remember this.
The power went out in the building and ended up had malfunctions. They shut the building down for a couple of months. But my mom is up on the 26th floor. The power is out. They're evacuating the building, and the elevators aren't working. And my mom uses a walker. So there is no universe in which my mother is making it down 26 flights of stairs. That is just not something she is capable of doing at age 91. And so two Houston firefighters carried her down 26 flights of stairs.
Incredible.
Now, I promise you, my mother didn't say, oh, okay, wait, I'm sorry. You guys are both big strapping dudes. No, I don't need that. Could you send two 90-year-old ladies to carry me down? That's what I'd like. Okay, this is asinine. And at some point, and never mind the out-of-control crime, never mind the homelessness, never mind Venice Beach, the homeless camp there assaulting people, never mind the drug needles in parks, never mind the kids stepping on fentanyl needles. Like, watching what has happened to L.A., it's tragic. Look, I spend a lot of time out in California because Heidi's a native Californian. Her whole family are Californians. It's a spectacularly beautiful state. I have a lot of dear friends who live there. When I look around, they've got perfect weather. They've got the Pacific Oceans. They've got mountains. I mean, it's breathtaking.
It is absolutely beautiful.
And I look around, I'm like, how did they screw this up? Like it's not. And I want to be clear.
Screw up, by the way. It takes effort to screw it up. It's easy to be successful if that's what you're given as your surroundings. You look at it and you go, I'd love to live here. Like, you go to California and you look at California, I don't care what part of the coast you're up or down, you see it and you're like, this is amazing. The only way you could make people not want to go there is if you have terrible services, which you're describing, insanely high taxes, which you're describing, and anti-business policies, which they also have there. And then it forces people to make a tough decision, which is, I love the land, I love what I see, but I got to get out of here. I can't afford it.
And I want to be clear. Look, I like to talk smack on the whole Texas versus California thing, and that's a fun thing to do.
Yeah.
But let me be clear. California destroying itself is tragic for the country. Look, California is our largest state. California historically has been this economic engine that has created enormous numbers of jobs. It's been really valuable for the American economy. And to watch people like Karen Bass, people like Gavin Newsom just destroy it and destroy it. Newsom, with this idiot wealth tax, has driven trillions of dollars out of the state. I mean, they're just fleeing like crazy. And listen, I don't know Spencer Pratt, never met the guy. I have no idea what his policies were. I will say the videos, the viral videos that his campaign put out, I watched every one of them. I love them. At one point I tweeted, how could you not vote for this guy?
Yeah.
Because he's just saying, and he was not running a right-wing campaign. He was not running a conservative campaign. He was like, how about a mayor that will stop your house from burning down, stop criminals from murdering you, stop homeless people from harassing and assaulting your children, and pick up the needles in the park? That's
not Republican or Democrat. That's not conservative or liberal. That's just like, can we get the basics right again so that we don't watch the city continue to go up in flames?
And the bizarre thing is the voters said, okay, so 34.7% said, hey, this is awesome. We want more of this. Give us an incompetent commie who doesn't know how to run a city. And then the second biggest group of people, 190,000, 198, said, you know what? She's not bat crap crazy enough. We've got someone that is full on crazy. It turns out incompetent Marxist is not far enough. And so they want full Mondami, I guess. It is.
We want everything for free. We don't want to have to work, and we want to be able to have our drugs as well.
All right, I want to take a moment to talk to you about the incredible people over at Patriot Mobile. This year marks a critical moment for our country. As the opposition grows more aggressive and unapologetic, the fight now reaches into the everyday decisions that we make. Now, Patriot Mobile has been standing on the front lines, fighting for freedom now for more than 12 years. They don't just deliver top-tier wireless service. They're activists like me who truly care and want to protect our country. Patriot Mobile offers prioritized premium access on all three major U.S. networks, giving you the same or better coverage than the main carriers offer you right now. That means fast speeds and dependable nationwide coverage, backed by the 100% U.S.-based customer support. They also offer unlimited data plans, mobile hotspots, international roaming, and much more. With simple, seamless activation now, you can switch literally in just minutes. Plus, you keep your number and keep your phone, or you can upgrade to a new one. Now, here's where the difference comes in. When you switch to Patriot Mobile, you'll be part of a powerful stream of giving that directly funds the Christian conservative movement without costing you an extra dime. So take a stand today and switch now. PatriotMobile.com/Ferguson. PatriotMobile.com/Ferguson. Or call them 972-PATRIOT. Use the promo code Ferguson for a free month of service. Don't wait. That's PatriotMobile.com/Ferguson or 972-PATRIOT.
I also have to ask you this question, though, and I go back because I was watching this explode on X. You mentioned earlier how long it's taken to get the vote in a local election.
Yep.
This goes back to 2016. This goes back to 2020. This goes back to a lot of election issues that a lot of, I think, sane conservatives, non-conspiracy theorists, I'm one of them now. I'm like, when you watch him go from second place and drop down to third all of a sudden, and it took a week to count, why would anybody have any faith in that system, Senator? Like that's, and look, I think a lot of us post-COVID and all the lies that we were told about COVID and, hey, 6 feet, stop the spread, the list goes on and on, the vaccine, and the list goes on and on. But there's people like me that look at this and you're like, I'm gonna throw up a red flag here and say, if it takes you a week to count the votes, something just doesn't seem right with that. And this is where people genuinely start to have distrust in the election. Sure. And then that also means a lot of people then go, well, why do I even vote? It's rigged, right? That's what I don't want to happen. But that's what people think is, maybe I shouldn't even vote. It's not wasting my time. It takes them a week. I don't believe my vote matters or even is counted correctly.
Well, and listen, in California, it is illegal for officials to check a photo ID.
Yep.
So we know that illegal aliens are voting. We know that illegal votes are counted. They also they vote overwhelmingly by mail, and it's worth reminding everyone that the last major bipartisan study of election integrity that was chaired by former Democrat President Jimmy Carter and chaired by former Republican Secretary of State James Baker, the Carter-Baker Commission, concluded that voting by mail increases the chances of election fraud. And they also concluded that ballot harvesting,
yes,
the ability of paid operatives to collect ballots and then send them in by mail, is the single most dangerous policy, because what happens is a correct operative can, say, go into a nursing home with the ballots of every person there and fill them out, and you can have people who are completely senile, who are in a coma, they can fill out the ballot and vote for them. They can also see who the person votes for. And let's say someone has a moment of sanity and they vote for someone they don't like. A corrupt operative can just throw that ballot in the trash. So ballot harvesting makes voter fraud much more likely. What does California do? Allows ballot harvesting. Now, let me say, at the gubernatorial election, we don't know who's going to be in the runoff. It's a week into it. So far, they've concluded that Javier Becerra, who is the California Attorney General, who is in the midst of a corruption scandal, who is incompetent, who is a far-left radical, he's in first place. And then, as of Sunday morning, conservative commentator Steve Hilton holds the lead for second place over billionaire Democrat Tom Steyer.
Yeah.
Hilton was the top choice for 26.1% of voters, and Steyer's for 21.3% of voters. But you know what? Given the drop of ballots, who knows? Maybe that could flip, and in fairly short order, you'll see two Democrats. But let me read a story from the San Francisco paper, because it asks, how many votes are left to be counted? And it says, according to the California Secretary of State's office, there are approximately 3 million unprocessed votes as of Saturday evening.
Wow.
Over 6.3 million ballots have been counted. Updated vote totals normally drop in the evenings. Why does California take so long to count votes? The Secretary of State's office explains on its site that there are a few reasons why Californians often wait days or weeks for the full results. Mail-in ballots that are received within a week of Election Day need processing, which means some of the ballots still in the mail system may need counting. Once a ballot is received, the Secretary of State says, quote, election officials must confirm each voter's registration status, verify each voter's signature on the vote-by-mail envelope, and ensure that each person did not vote elsewhere in the same election before the ballot can be counted. That's no small feat for a state as large as California, which has about as many residents as the entire population of Canada. Nonetheless, both Republicans and Democrats agree the process should be speedier. On Friday, a spokesperson for Governor Gavin Newsom told the San Francisco paper that Newsom, quote, wishes the vote count moved faster too. Well, doofus, there is a way to fix it, which is don't let people mail their damn ballot in on Election Day. End mail-in ballots. Require the ballots be received by Election Day. Look, we actually have, in Texas, we have early voting. We have 2 weeks of early voting.
Yeah.
And most of that is in person. And it's really quite easy to vote. I usually vote early, and you go into the polling place, and you can do it. If you vote early, there are almost never any lines. You wait in line maybe 5 minutes, you go vote, and it's quick and easy. You do a paper ballot, they put it in, they count it. And so the early votes, right now in Texas, about 2/3 of the votes are cast early, and they're cast early in person. Yep. We have limited mail-in ballots for people who are seniors, people with disabilities, for military, those serving the military that overseas. So it's a limited number of exceptions. But we managed to get, and then the remainder of the ballots are in person on Election Day. And we don't have people mailing in ballots on Election Day. You've got to get your ballots in. And Texas, let's be clear, California has the highest population in the country, but what's number 2? Texas. We managed to get our votes counted, typically by Election Day, or occasionally if it's a really close election, it may drag on a day or two. If it's down to like if it's neck and neck, it could drag on a day or two, but that is the exception rather than the rule. By the way, Florida, same thing. They have the 3rd highest population. Somehow Florida manages to count their damn ballots. And so listen, I don't know in L.A. if the loony communists surging ahead of Spencer Pratt is a result of voter fraud or a result of a bunch of voters who just say, you know what, it's so bad, I want it worse. But like nobody, and let's be clear, this is not just lefty Californians that are like, oh, I love abortion. Okay, fine. Yeah. Look, on the question of choice in life, I have no idea what Spencer Pratt's view is, but I can't believe he's anything but pro-choice. I have no reason to think anything else. It's not about gay rights. I'm not aware of any view Spencer Pratt has about gay rights. I assume that we're 2 years away from them making it mandatory for every child in the California public schools to be transgender. So, that's the path they're on is Ben, congratulations. Your 3 boys, we're now going to surgically sterilize them whether they want it or not. They're not quite there yet, but they ain't far.
Yeah.
But
they're not.
Those were not the issues in this race. This was not socially we're liberal, blah, blah, blah. That I don't agree with that, but that's not what this was over. This is people saying, no, I don't want a mayor who can hire a fire department who can put out a damn fire. Nope, I don't want a mayor who can actually hire police officers who could arrest murderers. No, I don't want a city that stops crackheads from leaving drugs on the streets, from people defecating on the streets, from putting needles on the streets, from threatening our kids. Apparently, the people of L.A. are like, nope, basic services, not interested in those. I just want, it is somewhere between, Mein Kampf and the Communist Manifesto, and that's what they care about.
Final question on this. If you do end up having, even let's say Bass lose, and you go to even more extreme candidate, it turns Mondani. What does that say about this country that are 2 of their biggest cities in the nation have gone this far to the extreme? It's not even the Democratic Party anymore. We're talking about communism and socialism in our biggest cities on the West and East Coast.
And by the way, to be clear, Karen Bass is already pretty much where Mondani is.
Yeah.
Like there's not a whole lot of daylight. So this loony leftist who thinks Bass is too conservative, I shudder to think what the hell that means. Like it's getting to the point. It's not healthy for our country, and I have to assume that there are a lot of voters in L.A. who are not paying attention. Look, there are a lot of Republicans in California who are demoralized, who don't think it matters anymore, who stay home. That is a big factor. I'll tell you, as I said, I'm out in California quite a bit, and when I'm out there, I will have people in L.A. come up to me, and they'll sort of look to the ground, and they'll furtively look around, and they'll say, Ted, I'm the only conservative in California. And I'll tell them, no, you're not.
No, you're not. Yeah.
And in fact, do you know what state has the most Republicans in it?
California.
Yes, there are more Republicans in California than there are in Texas. Now, there are even more Democrats. They are outnumbered. But it's almost like when they come up to me, it's like the Christians in the ancient Colosseum, where with the foot they make the shape of a fish in the sand. They are beaten down, and I will say an awful lot of Republicans don't show up. because they believe it is hopeless, and unfortunately that belief too often can become a self-fulfilling prophecy.
I want to take a quick moment and talk to you about an incredible organization, and it is called Compassion International, and how you can get involved. Love, generosity, and compassion. We say those words all the time, and they sound good. They feel good. But here's the truth. Those words don't mean anything unless they turn into action. And right now, not later today, not tomorrow, there's a child in the world who doesn't know if they'll eat, if they'll have a chance to learn, or if there's any hope at all. And while we're all busy, life keeps moving forward, but that child is waiting. This is where you come in. With Compassion International, you have the chance to change a child's future. Not just with words, not with promises, but with real help that provides food, education, and hope through local churches and people already in their community. Put your words into action and join me. Introduce a child to a loving Heavenly Father today at compassion.com. That's compassion.com.
All right, let's timestamp this. It is 12:37 a.m. Eastern time as we are recording right now, Senator. And so let's talk about what's happening right now in the Middle East. We have had a flare-up. I think it's a fair way to put it. Israel involved, Iran involved, hitting terrorist targets as well in Lebanon. This has turned into a bigger deal. The president trying to still get this deal done, with Iran making phone calls apparently to Bibi Netanyahu saying, hey, let's not go too heavy here. Let us see if we can keep this framework together, trying to keep that ceasefire together as well. There's an awful lot happening right now.
Well, let's talk about the latest news. And as you noted, it is Sunday night, so things could break by Monday. By the time this podcast is out, we could have more news breaking. But as of right now, the latest news, Axios reported just a few minutes ago, quote, the Israeli Air Force conducted strikes on military targets in central and western Iran on Monday morning local time, the Israel Defense Forces said in a statement. The strikes, in retaliation for an Iranian missile attack against Israel, mark a new phase in a growing escalation that started on Sunday morning. This is the first time Israel has struck Iran since the April 8 ceasefire. Further exchanges of fire could unravel the negotiations between the United States and Iran and lead to the resumption of the war. President Trump told Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu hours before the strikes not to retaliate after Tehran conducted a retaliatory attack on Israel. A U.S. defense official said the U.S. military was not involved in the Israeli strikes on Iran. The official said the Israeli strikes were relatively limited in their scope. So we have returned to firing missiles, active hostility between Iran and Israel. Both have fired missiles at each other in the past 24 hours. That certainly has the potential to escalate. And also Sunday morning, President Trump was on Meet the Press. He was asked about Iran. Here's what President Trump had to say.
Their leaders are gone.
Do you know where all of Iran's nuclear material is?
Yes.
Sir?
Yes.
Would you unfreeze any Iranian assets or lift any sanctions up front as a part of any deal? So that would come after.
Comes after, yeah. If
they turned over their nuclear enrichment material.
Unlike Obama. Obama flew a Boeing 757, a plane I know very well. They took the seats out and they loaded it up with $1.7 billion in cash from the banks in Maryland and Virginia and D.C. They emptied out the banks, and they gave them 1.7 in green, and they gave them tens of billions of dollars, just kept giving them money, and it didn't work.
Would any, again,
that never works.
But again, Mr. President, you promised that you were going to negotiate a better deal. Do you wish
You listen to the president there, and I do think it's really interesting to see how quick on Meet the Press they wanted to get back in his face and go, but this is a disaster. He's like, it's 3 months. Like, what I'm doing right now is really tough. Others said they were in favor of what I'm doing. They didn't do it the way I'm doing it. I'm holding them accountable. This goes back to just perspective here, I think, is the biggest thing the president's saying.
Well, what the president said that is very clear is he's drawn a red line, and he's insisting that Iran comply with his red line. His red lines, which we've talked about at length, are number one, no nukes, no nuclear materials. They have no nuclear enrichment, and they have to hand over the enriched uranium they have. Number two, they have to stop funding terrorism. Number three, they have to open the Strait of Hormuz. And you will not see, he has said, sanctions relief. You will not see money going to them until they comply with those conditions. That's the right way to negotiate. Both Barack Obama and Joe Biden just flooded billions into Iran. As the president said, Obama literally flew a plane filled with almost $2 billion in cash, pallets of cash, into Iran in the dead of night. There was another exchange President Trump had with Meet the Press. Give a listen to this one.
And they would have had a nuclear weapon 5 years ago.
But, Mr. President, I'm curious, because when you were campaigning, you said you would rip up the Iran nuclear deal, but negotiate a better deal. Why didn't you negotiate a better deal at the time? Because after it was ripped up, there weren't guardrails, and they escalated their production of enriched uranium.
Excuse me. It takes years to do these things. These people have been fighting for 47 years. They've been killing Americans. They've been taking off their legs and their arm, and their faces have been hurt so badly and so horribly. I'm moving very fast. I'm into 3 months. You know, Vietnam lasted 19 years. I'm into my third month, and all I do is say, whoa, when are you going to win? If I were a Democrat, nobody would be talking that way, but it doesn't matter to me. I've gotten so used to it. Look, we have totally destroyed their military. They have some missiles left. They have some drones left.
Do you know how many missiles?
Yes, exactly.
How many?
I don't want to tell you.
Can you give me a ballpark?
But they have some left. No, but I know almost to the number, and we know where they are too, and we know where their drones are, and we know where their drone factories are. Most of the drone factories have been knocked out. Most of the launching pads have been knocked out, and most of the missile manufacturing areas have been knocked out. But they still have capacity. They have some missiles. They have some drones. I would say percentage-wise, maybe 21, 22% of their missiles. It's a lot of missiles, but it's not what it was when we first attacked.
So you're saying they have 21, 22% of their missiles left?
Correct, yes.
Okay.
I got to say, I laugh at how they want him to tell them, and he's like, I'm not going to tell you that publicly. Well, why won't you? Because I'm not going to tell the enemy what I know on everything. This seems pretty normal, yet the entire interview had that level of hostility in it.
Yeah, look, I mean, NBC, unfortunately, it is approaching this, and it has approached this like the rest of the corporate media, with effectively rooting for the United States to lose. As the president laid out, the United States has had extraordinary military results in this conflict. 80% of the missiles, 80% of the drones destroyed, virtually all of the drone manufacturing and missile capacity destroyed, the Air Force in rubble, the Navy sunken at the bottom of the ocean, the Ayatollah dead, many of the mullahs dead, many of the leaders of the IRGC dead. And her question, she says, well, why didn't you negotiate a better deal? I'm listening to that wondering, it's like someone saying to the police, why didn't you negotiate a better deal with Charles Manson? Why didn't you negotiate a better deal with Jeffrey Dahmer? Why didn't you negotiate a better deal with Ted Bundy? It is not possible to negotiate a deal with someone whose only objective is to murder you.
Yep.
And the media refuses to acknowledge that. They're like, the right solution is send them billions of dollars. That's what Democrats want.
Appeasement.
It is complete appeasement. It is denial of the reality that when the Ayatollah says death to America, he means it. And the reason President Trump is waging this war is because if the Ayatollah got nuclear weapons, we could see hundreds of thousands of Americans murdered in a flash of an eye. And the president is not going to let that happen. And it is, I got to say, by the way, I'm quite confident the folks at NBC News are cheering the results of the LA mayor's race because the last thing they want is a mayor that can actually put out fires or arrest criminals.
Yeah, that's a great point. We're going to keep you updated on both of these stories. Don't forget, we do this show Monday, Wednesday, Friday, so hit that subscribe or auto-download button, and you can watch on YouTube. A lot of you heading over to YouTube, which is really fun. We see the numbers grow every week, so make sure that if you want to watch the show on YouTube, you can do that as well, and on Facebook. And the Senator and I will see you back here on Wednesday morning.